good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Tonight, we continue with the big focus on the vaccination drive that is set to start in 3 days from now. It's going to be a historic day as India unfolds and begins the mega vaccination drive for a country with over 1.25 billion people. And it's going to be a challenging task, a long-drawn task, but it is the next step in our war against COVID. But as we prepare, and the companies prepare, and the government prepares, and states and administrations prepare, there are concerns, many questions about the details of the two vaccines. Now, one of the interesting issues that has cropped up, apart from people, of course, asking, do I get to choose, to which the government says, well, not as of now, you don't get to choose whether you get Covishield or Covaxin. But the other concern is, what if there is a mix-up? Is there a possibility somebody gets first dose of one brand and the second dose of the other brand? Is there enough checks and balances in the system to ensure this doesn't happen? Remember, this is not something which is taking place just in the big cities under the scrutiny of many, many officials. This is an exercise that will reach to the far-flung corners of our country, in towns and villages, across states and boundaries in our country. Which is why it is important to ensure that even if the beneficiary isn't very well aware of all the details, we don't make a mistake. Now, the government says that there isn't any scope for error because the allocation, the entire process is actually going to be digital. It's not really a manual process. The allocation of doses will also be monitored online. And so it's not going to allow, this digital process will not allow two vaccines for the same day. It will also not allow different vaccines to the same person. Now, to facilitate the process of digital monitoring, the CoWIN app is what we're all banking on, and it's what you and I and everybody else who's hoping to get vaccinated this year will end up using for the vaccination program. What will the CoWIN app contain? Well, pretty much everything from start to end when it comes to the vaccination process. All of your data which is required to identify you, your name, your details, your identification, all of this you will have to upload when you register. This database, this CoWIN, will also have the database of the vaccinators. It is also supposed to be the app that will be used to then track. Remember, between the two doses, you will have to wait for at least 28 days before you get your second dose. Otherwise, it's of no use. After that, 14 days on is when we will begin to see the impact, the efficacy. So, because we've had so many questions from you, the viewers, about the process, about the technicalities involved, we decided to one more time bring in experts to answer these queries and to help us understand if there is really any scope for error. How is it that we are going to address these problems? Let's say good evening to Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan, Director for Infectious Diseases at Gleneagles Global, Dr. Shashank Joshi, Dean, Indian College of Physicians at Lilavati Hospital and the member of the Maharashtra COVID Task Force. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us. Dr. Swaminathan, let me start off with you. I think a lot of these questions are emerging now because we've never really thought about the whole vaccination process, even though we do have a mass immunization program in our country for other vaccines and diseases. But just to understand, will this app also decide who decides which vaccine do I get?
Right now, that much is not very clear. Obviously, the preference will be for the vaccine which has more data. And obviously, the Serum Institute vaccine has a leader effect in that it's come out first and it has more data behind it. So obviously, that would be the preferred vaccine. Possibly, the Covaxin would be considered in situations where the Serum Institute vaccine is either too difficult to acquire or a person is not a candidate for the Serum Institute vaccine and so on. So there could be a tiered option that way. But again, I think by the time the Covaxin comes out, we are hoping that Bharat Biotech will be able to provide more data from their later studies to justify its inclusion in the national program. So hopefully it will be a win-win situation and all will be hunky-dory.
But ideally, how should we go about it? Will this be, location-based, geography-based, that in these geographies or these cities, only one vaccine will go for a long time so that there is no scope for confusion? Would that be a good way of going about it, Dr. Swaminathan?
While on paper that sounds very good, I think we need to look at who are the kind of people for whom a live vaccine would be a tricky idea. I have a lot of transplant patients. We have a lot of women who are likely to be pregnant. So in these two categories, I think more data needs to come. So certainly a killed vaccine would be a possibly safer bet than a live vaccine, even though it's supposed to be a non-replicating vector. So even if you look at the British guideline, for women who are likely to be pregnant, including women in healthcare, they've said it's a shared decision making, which basically means they leave it up to the doctor. And also remember, the doctor does not have more information than the advisory committees on decision making. So in that kind of a setting, I would probably reach for the killed vaccine, which is the Covaxin as compared to the Covishield. But having said that, overall, it does make sense to have clearly demarcated areas so that you don't have a confusion of what goes in first and what goes in second. And mixing up the two vaccines could be a problem because you don't get the boosting and therefore the requisite benefit of the second dose.
Okay, that's an interesting point, Dr. Shashank Joshi, because right now the understanding is that, the beneficiaries don't have any say. But should it be that basis what their doctors advise them under certain conditions, that control should come at perhaps a later stage after this first phase of 3 crore beneficiaries?
Currently, though, in the first 3 crores, there is unlikely to be any say. These are healthcare workers and COVID frontline, and all the directions are coming from the center directly, and they are only being implemented. Probably after 65-70% is what the Prime Minister has said. After the first phase is over, they will take a review of the situation and make the step 2 policy making based on the learnings from the first phase. That is the likelihood. I think there are two things which are very important to remember. Both the vaccines are safe. Both the vaccines, though are in a limited emergency use mode, appear to have some data in both the directions showing that if I have to take either of them, I'm okay. So that's like from my standpoint, if I want to reassure people, but people will have doubts. People have to go by science. Science will be adapted, and we are in an extraordinary circumstance. And again, it is voluntary. It is not compulsory. So if somebody has some degree of nervousness about that, I think we have to do more of IEC, which is information, education and counseling to healthcare workers and COVID frontline workers. And that should be done by the governmental agencies in an aggressive manner, in a language they understand, so that the adoption of this vaccination program will be more successful. The app is a welcome thing. It should not happen, and it's unlikely to happen that one person will get one vaccine and the second dose will be something else. I think it's near impossible for that to happen. And also, I think where the stocks of Covishield will go, there won't be any stocks of Covaxin going. So that also has been very clearly spelled out. But of course, we don't have too much of information on all these things. And a lot of these things will be known to the local geographies and administrations. There is a national guideline which comes to each state. From each state, it goes to each district. And in each district, there is a blueprint laid out. And most of it will be also in the regional language for people to understand better. But the first phase is for healthcare workers, where a lot of information will be there. And also these being healthcare workers will have a lot of doubts. They would like to go through a lot of data. So doing a lot of information, education and counseling to this group is going to be a crucial component as the vaccine strategy will unfold and vaccination will commence on the 16th. But I think people are looking up to it, and we should all cooperate and support this. And so that we can see, the whole idea of this vaccination program is to save lives and to limit severe disease. So it is not giving a guarantee that it may not cause COVID, but if the COVID is there, it will be mild or asymptomatic, but the severe disease or deaths is prevented. That is the fundamental reason this vaccination program has been commenced. And this is exactly the reason by which it has been commenced in US, in Europe, in some parts of Middle East, some parts of China. And that is why India has started this program. And I'm certain that after this 3 crore population, we will be having better learnings from this, so that the next group, which is a large vulnerable group, we will be having better directions.
And in that large vulnerable group, probably it will also be required to look at the data of how these vaccines, till then what these vaccines have further shown to decide of what kind perhaps suits, somebody better, especially above the age of 50 or somebody who has some kind of a comorbidity. So far, the government hasn't even come out with the list and the order of priority for comorbidities. Everybody who has diabetes today or a blood pressure today would also be expecting maybe their name pops up there. Then there will be, of course, more serious issues, heart ailments, or if you're already undergoing treatment for cancer or other issues as well. So that complication will come next. But Dr. Joshi, for the initial phase where people, often ask us that, all right, when you go to the center the first time and you're given a vaccine, the challenge perhaps will come in ensuring that the same brand is given to you 28 days later. For that, the back end will have to be strong enough to ensure that in that area, for the second dose, they're managing to stock up 28 days later as well.
Absolutely, but we have to have full faith in our system. We are supposed to be one of the world's best vaccinators on planet Earth, whether it is polio or smallpox. So if you go by our old history, I think our system has to be robust enough and fail-proof enough to handle this. And I'm very confident that will happen.
Are there any instances right now, Dr. Swaminathan, now or earlier of any other vaccine doses that, where there were multiple options or this kind of a, concern came about?
Yes, it's not the first time. For example, in polio, we have the oral polio and the injectable polio vaccine. So each country takes a call at which one they want to use based on their own local requirements and what is feasible. So even the pneumococcal vaccine, for that matter, there are at least two of them. Each country makes a decision on what is their requirement and what is feasible and what makes sense to them. So this is not an unusual situation at all. So having multiple things is actually a boon because many vaccines have numerous manufacturers, and therefore it's a question of trying to match it appropriate to the person who's getting the vaccine.
Because you raised that issue, let me just also let our viewers know that the polio immunization drive, which is otherwise slated for 17th of Jan, for now has been deferred. Now, one can, of course, understand and imagine that since we are starting off with our COVID vaccination drive on 16th itself, the first few days are going to be extremely crucial until we settle into a system and we're able to track everything. And after that, the government probably will come up with another date. We don't know. Government sources tell us that the delay is because of the COVID vaccine drive, though the government has promised us just yesterday that the existing healthcare services and immunization drives will not get impacted. So one hopes that, this one is rescheduled soon enough. But one can understand that in the initial days, there is going to be a lot of focus and burden on the healthcare system when it comes to COVID vaccination. Let me actually come to some of the other questions that people often ask us. And one of them is, for people who have already an ailment for which they are undergoing treatment, for example, cancer, Dr. Joshi, should they be exploring the option of getting this vaccine, or should they, seek first some kind of response from their own oncologist? How do they go about it, or wait and watch?
So first of all, right now it will go to healthcare workers. If a healthcare worker is unfortunately suffering from some cancer, I'm certain that he will discuss with his or her oncologist and take a call. But this is a vulnerable group. So a patient with cancer, diabetes, heart disease, or a transplant patient will definitely be a vulnerable group. And the reason of giving it is all the more necessary that we vaccinate them so that we can save their lives, because these are the people we lost during the COVID times. So it's very crucial to important, but it is absolutely mandatory that they discuss with their doctor. But remember now, this is healthcare workers to healthcare workers. So I'm certain that that decision will be taken. And as Dr. Swaminathan rightfully said, that in that situation, sometimes maybe a Covaxin might be a better option because it's a killed vaccine. It's an inactivated vaccine. I don't know why so much of hue and cry is being made about Covaxin. It's a very safe vaccine because it's completely a killed virus, and it generates very good immunogenic response. The data might not have been completed. The process is ongoing, but I think we should be very proud. We should celebrate that our scientists have been able to come. It's such a tedious, and our ICMR scientists, our Bharat Biotech PEEP scientists, they have been able to pull it off such an inactivated vaccine. And in such people like cancer or immunosuppressed patients, that is an ideal vaccine to give.
I think the hue and cry, Dr. Joshi, is more about the fact that a lot of this data and information wasn't shared, and the decision-making process itself was a little unclear, which is where the people ask these questions that, do you have the data, or even you don't have the data? On what basis are you giving this this approval? Then we were told by experts that this is just going to be a backup vaccine, which is I think a statement that didn't go down very well with Bharat Biotech for obvious reasons. But the government has placed orders with both of the companies now, and both of them have now today. Bharat Biotech also shipped off quite a significant set of doses across the country. So these doses are now out. They will be reaching all the states, and from the main centers going to towns and to various district centers, and then to the villages in the next several days, so that the process can actually start from January 16th. But coming back to that point, Dr. Swaminathan, would you like to add that, because these are a lot of queries that we get, but people who especially are undergoing any kind of chemotherapy or immunotherapy, should they wait and watch? Do we know enough yet about when they should take the vaccine and which one?
Like Dr. Joshi pointed out very beautifully, these are the most vulnerable people, and they are the ones who actually need it as quickly as possible.
Correct.
So pausing for safety's sake doesn't make sense, because it's the very opposite of safety. You need the protection. The concern could be, are you getting enough benefit from the vaccine because you may be on therapy? So obviously that part of it needs to be discussed with your oncologist. If you're on specific therapy, if your immune system is not strong enough, you may not get the full benefit of the vaccine, in which case it needs to be timed correctly so that you get the maximum benefit out of it. But unless you're extremely immunosuppressed, like a stem cell transplant or something like that, you're not going to have a major problem with these vaccines. So I think the concern regarding safety is being overstated, like Dr. Joshi pointed out very clearly. I think we need to understand that most of our patients, whether they are on dialysis or heart disease or lung disease or whatever it is, I think they should all be taking the vaccine very, very quickly, because it's the best thing that they can do to keep themselves safe. The potency or how effective it will be is very difficult to say at this point of time. That only time will tell us. So the concern is more from an efficacy point of view rather than a safety point of view, as it is for practically every vaccine that is administered in this group. There are very rare groups of people for whom it may be a little bit of a tricky issue, and those need to be discussed case by case. And for discussing it with your primary physician is always a good idea. And that's why I think this exercise of first giving it to healthcare providers is a good idea, because if your healthcare provider has taken the vaccine, he or she is going to be more convinced about the benefit of it and is more likely to recommend it to their own patients, and therefore increase the uptake of the vaccine in the vulnerable population.
Okay, fair enough. And I think, like both of you have said, we'll also have to wait for the next turn. Right now, it's just 3 crore people, the healthcare workers, our frontline workers, those in the forces, in jobs which are more, need extensive field work and risk you to a lot of exposure, who will be actually getting these vaccines. And then the government will come out with the next set of rules and guidelines for the next lot of people. By the time it comes to people who aren't senior citizens and don't have any existing ailments, it's going to be quite a few months, and the system would have ideally settled in by then. We don't know yet if the government is actually then going to allow them to be vaccines to be sold in the open market as well, because then it would open up for choices, and then people can make their own choice of which vaccine they actually want. But let's talk about the immunization program that the government is going to carry out. Maybe the states will also take on the burden of saying, for vulnerable groups, for the poor, we are going to bear the cost. We are going to facilitate it in smaller towns and villages. How important will then a technology-based platform be, Dr. Shashank Joshi? Because earlier days you would have one card where they would fill in with the details. Now everything is expected to be on this one app where you put in your details, and then it gets tracked for months together.
With the card system, people used to often lose their cards and get multiple times vaccinated.
Yes.
The app, it is unlikely to happen. Once you have entered it, it is done. It is all secure and sealed. Yes, there will be challenges with electricity, internet connectivity. But I think now we are in digital era of digital India. And I think in digital India of digital era, I think it's a welcome step. I think all the dry runs were precisely done for that reason only, so that at least in remote access rural geographies, these challenges can be circumvented. And I am certain that most of the sites of vaccination program are actually the sites where electricity is there. Even our EVMs have some degree of electricity which is needed around them. So I think if we have an electoral process in our largest democracy of the world, I'm reasonably certain that the vaccination program can also go through in the same geographies. So I don't have doubts. And actually the digitalization and the CoWIN app will make it more robust because there won't be any duplication. And it's unlikely that there will be any, a likelihood that the second dose will be missed. There will be apps, there will be reminders. So all that will be automated. So we are not leaving it for human error. Of course, we cannot be fail-safe, fail-proof with computers also, but the likelihood of error is likely to be lower. And that is why the digital, India is looking at this mission of digitalization. Particularly in COVID times, we have come into a digital age. In fact, there is a national digital health mission and we have a eSanjeevani app, which is also excellent. And in fact, now teleconsultations, you can consult AIIMS, you can consult CMC Vellore, you can consult doctors at KM Hospital through teleconsultation. So I think that era has come now. And therefore, we are in an E-era. And I think an app has become an order of the day. Yes, there would be challenges of internet connectivity, but I think they will be addressed. And I think the dry runs address precisely that. And which is why a dry run happened right from early December. Remember, a dry run started almost a month and a half early. So almost 45 days of preparations have gone. And actually, the blueprint has been going on since September. So almost 4 or 5 months of some deep thinking has gone from some of the best people in the world who are handling vaccination programs like Dr. Vinod Paul, who heads the team. He has been an ace pediatrician, Dr. Jacob Job, many of these top think tanks of the world. Because remember, we are one of the largest vaccination programs on planet Earth, apart from being the largest vaccine producer on Earth. So obviously, we have some knowledge and expertise here, and hopefully that will be successful.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, I think we're all very excitedly waiting for the app also to be launched, because that's going to give us an insight into how it's going to function, what all information will be available, the kind of real-time tracking that will take place. Of course, once the app is launched, the registration will only be for the 3 crore workers to begin with who will get the vaccination in phase 1 drive. I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much to both of our experts for joining us and taking some of our queries and concerns. I just want to give our viewers a sense of how the states are also preparing. And what a mammoth task it's going to be on a daily basis. For example, if I talk about how Delhi has prepared, Delhi actually aims to vaccinate 1 lakh people every day. 1 lakh people every day. Remember, all of these states have done their dry runs, and these dry runs were also, a way of showing where the delays are, where the problems are, what's the average time it's taking to vaccinate one person from entry to exit, because there are multiple phases which are involved. So all of that has been factored in via these dry runs. Of course, there will be some initial glitches, but Delhi aims to vaccinate 1 lakh people every day. There are about 1,000 vaccination sites that have already been set up in the national capital. 629 cold chain points have also been set up to store these vaccines, which have already reached the national capital. 3 lakh health workers in Delhi are the priority for our officials there. Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, well, they have narrowed it down to say, well, every 2 hours, we should be able to vaccinate 25 people. That's our target. So they have brought in about 21,000 trained vaccinators, who will be deployed into this exercise. This exercise is going to go on for months together. So it's not just one set of people that you will need. Over 47,000 vaccination centers across the state of Tamil Nadu have been identified. 51 cold storage facilities at district level. 5 lakh frontline workers. 5 lakh. That's the list that Tamil Nadu has prepared. Karnataka similarly has 6.5 lakh frontline workers who will be vaccinated in phase 1. That's a huge number and a huge task ahead of us. And it can only be successful when all of us come together, and all states and the center, the authorities come together, and the people simply cooperate with what the officials are telling us, make ourselves aware, read a lot about it, watch these shows that we present to you for all the queries and concerns that you have, and be prepared for when your turn comes, you will know what has to be done. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.